Hello, everyone. I'm ZHAO Chuang. Today we will draw the skull of Camarasaurus. Camarasaurus is a sauropod dinosaur that we know a lot about, especially its skull. Sauropod skulls were frequently fragile and difficult to preserve, but Camarasaurus was an exception as numerous exquisite skull remains of this dinosaur had been found. Therefore, we have a definite understanding of what its skull looks like. When drawing, we should first focus on its unique features. Camarasaurus had an arched skull with protruded dome-like nares. We should pay attention to the proportions and accurately depict the tall shape of its skull. In addition, its skull bones were thin. The nasal bones and the bones that made up the orbit, as well as the antipodal and temporal fenestrae, were all gracile. We should be mindful not to draw the bones too thick. Furthermore, Camarasaurus also had distinctive teeth with relatively long exposed roots and curved ends resembling a spoon. This feature should be included in this drawing. Now, let's get started. First, we use very light lines to outline the entire skull, which resembles a tilted trapezoid. Here's the location for its huge orbit. Overall, its orbit was similar to an inverted teardrop. Next, draw a series of bones behind the eye that form the orbit. The back margin is the postorbital. The top is its frontal, and the anterior is the lacrimal. What I am drawing now is the lacrimal, a thin and long bone. One reason made sauropod skulls difficult to preserve is that they were shaped like small cages, made up of very gracile bones, as opposed to the robust bones found in many theropod dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus. When drawing these structures, you can see that the bones are pretty thin. Moving to the front, draw its maxilla. The maxilla of theropod dinosaurs, such as Tyrannosaurus, was almost a large triangle, whereas that of Camarasaurus was like forked deer antlers, with many thin rods stretching out. After finishing the maxilla, let's move on to the jugal. The jugal bone had 3 branches like a trident, with 2 connecting the anterior and posterior margin of its orbit, and 1 extending backward to link with the quadrato-jugal. Then, draw the quadrate at the top of the skull, where it articulates with the mandible below. Then, proceed to draw the cranium. Once finishing the back of the skull, we move forward to draw the premaxilla. Draw the premaxilla into 2 bones, one connecting the nasal bone above and the other connecting to the maxilla behind. Then, draw the teeth. Camarasaurus teeth are quite recognizable, with a long section of exposed tooth roots, and backward curved crowns resembling a spoon. We should pay attention to this feature when drawing. Early sauropods had numerous teeth that extended all the way to the front of the eyes. Moving on, draw its surangula, a bone situated at the back of the mandible, with an articulation connected to its brain case. Then, draw the angula, which typically features a hole in the middle, though some specimens may not display this hole. Then, we draw its dentary, the front component of the mandible, which is slightly shorter than the maxilla. Now, we come to its lower teeth, which are also very thin and long, with the roots having a long section exposed. Next, we can fill the hollow part of this skull with a dark color. Go with the temporal fenestra first. When applying the color, it's important not to fill it too solid and make the middle part appropriately breathable. Move on to the eye. Draw the sclerotic ring in the upper circular part of the eye socket, a structure shaped like a camera shutter. Then, we proceed with its anteorbital fenestra, followed by the huge nostril, and the superior temporal fenestra. Now, let's draw a layer of skin onto the skull along the outside border. The foremost of the skull was beaked. The beak covered the roots of the teeth. Also, draw the beak at the tooth root. The same goes for the lower beak. Then, outline the neck and the throat underneath. Shade this part of the neck. Trace the outside margin with a thick line, then apply the shading. Good. Like this, we've finished drawing the skull of Camarasaurus.